Good afternoon to you. Today we will continue with the Constitution, and we have already seen all the powers of the Parliament, including the constituent power, that is, the powers to amend the Constitution under Article 368. And we have also seen various cases relating to the amendment of the Constitution and basic structure theory, and also the sanctity of 24th April 1973. All these things we have seen under the amendment of the Constitution. Today we will see judiciary. This is the part 1 lecture of judiciary. With all humility at my command, I want to inform you that you can check any YouTube, any civil service classes, even famous classes. You cannot find so much details of Indian polity portion in any of the lectures. I mean, again I repeat, with all humility at my command, I throw a challenge. This much detailed analysis of the constitutional provisions you will not be able to find in any of the classes in YouTube. If there is any class, such a class, kindly tell me through the comments. So I want you to share these lectures to your friends so that others also get benefited. Okay. We will now continue with the judiciary, part 1 of the Constitution. You know, the essence of federal constitution is the division of powers. That is the essence of federal constitution. Division of powers between the union and the states. The division is made in the written constitution itself, which is the supreme law of land. Since the language in the constitution cannot be free from the ambiguities, and its meaning is likely to be interpreted at different times by different authorities in different ways, it is always possible that disputes may arise between the constituent units regarding their powers. The dispute may be between the center and the states, or states on the one side and center plus states on the other side, and states intercede. Therefore, to maintain supremacy of the constitution and also to ensure impartial interpretation of the constitution, Supreme Court has been established as an impartial and independent authority to decide the disputes between the center and the states intercede. So, this is the very purpose. The purpose of Supreme Court is, this is the main purpose. Supreme Court, therefore, is an arbitrator, number 1. Final interpreter of the Constitution, number 2. Guardian of fundamental rights, number 3. Guarantor of minority and civil rights, number 4. And also the custodian of the Constitution, number 5. These are all the 5 tasks given to the Supreme Court. Before going into the details of the Supreme Court, first let us see how far the independence of Supreme Court is maintained in our Constitution. Let us first see overall. All these provisions we will see in detail. But before entering into the judiciary portion, First, let us see to what extent the claim that the Supreme Court is an independent authority is maintained in various provisions of the Constitution. That is the point which we will like to see. First of all, even though the judges of the Supreme Court are appointed by President of India through an executive order, remember, they cannot be removed by President without following the stipulated procedure given in the Constitution. In other words, the judges of the Supreme Court can be removed by President only for proved misbehavior or incapacity, supported by a resolution passed by both the Houses of Parliament by special majority. This is the first safeguard against arbitrary removal of judges of Supreme Court and High Court by the executive. Number one. Number two, the salary and allowances of the judges and also their secretarial expenses are charged, quote, charged into the Consolidated Fund of India and is not subject to vote of the Parliament. Not subject to vote of the Parliament. Number two. Number three. During the term of their office, their salary and allowances cannot be varied to their disadvantage except, underline, except during grave financial emergency, as I have already seen under Article 360. Number 3. Number 4. Neither in Parliament nor in state legislatures any discussion can take place with reference to the conduct of a judge in discharge of his duties except upon a motion for his removal. Number 4. Number 5 now. Supreme Court and High Courts have powers to punish any person for contempt. Number 5. Then comes number 6. The Parliament has powers only to increase the powers and jurisdiction of Supreme Court. And Parliament cannot curtail the powers and jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Another safeguard. Number 7. Article 50 of the Constitution, which is a directive principle, directs the state to take steps to separate judiciary from executive in public services of the state, thereby securing judiciary from the possible interference by the executive. Separation of judiciary from executive. Number 8. Retired judges have been forbidden from practice after retirement in any court in India, within India. Number 9. The appointment of officers and the servants of the Supreme Court is made by the Chief Justice of India or by his nominee and not by the executive. This is number 9. Number 10. Constitution does not leave the appointment of judges to the unguided discretion of the executive. The executive, that is the President of India, is required to consult Chief Justice of India by obligation in appointment of other judges of the Supreme Court. In addition, the executive is to consult such other judges of Supreme Court and High Court in appointment of the judges. To be fair enough, after 1993 and after 1998 judgment of the Supreme Court under advisory jurisdiction, the executive is bound by the unanimous recommendation of the Collegium consisting of Chief Justice of India and 4 senior most judges of the Supreme Court. Remember, most important point. So, in short, the Constitution has provided absolute independence to the Supreme Court. Now we will see the detailed provisions of Union Judiciary. First point, every sentence is important, nothing is, unnecessary. Union Judiciary is covered in chapter 4, underline PT, from article 124 to article 147. How do you remember this? 1 to 3 is the ordinance. Immediately after that, it comes 124, judiciary. Then up to 147. Then 148, CAG. So you remember this, chapter 4. It was established on 28th January 1950, 2 days after the inception of Constitution. How do you remember this? 2 days after the inception of Constitution. Third point, Supreme Court succeeded the Federal Court, which was established under Government of India Act 1935. The Supreme Court replaced the British Privy Council and assumed the role of Court of Appeal. And remember, the original Constitution provided, that is when it was started, 1950, provided for a Supreme Court with the Chief Justice of India and 7 what is known as peon judges. Peon judges mean any judge other than the Chief Justice of India. And the Constitution has empowered the Parliament to increase the number of judges according to the requirement. The powers have been delegated to Parliament. Under the provisions of Supreme Court Number of Judges Amendment Act 2019, the number of judges has been increased to 33 judges plus 1 Chief Justice of India from the earlier position of 30 judges plus 1 Chief Justice of India. This is another point you should remember. Salary of Chief Justice of India is rupees 2.8 lakhs per month, while for the judges of the Supreme Court, 2.5 lakh per month. The proceedings of the Supreme Court are conducted in English, and the procedure is regulated by the Supreme Court rules of 1960. Now, let us see the qualifications for being appointed as Judge of Supreme Court. Number 1, as you know, citizenship. Number 2, must have at least 5 years a Judge of High Court or 2 or more such courts in succession. So, 5 years as Judge of High Court or 2 or more High Courts in succession. The minimum total period 5 years. Or, remember, second is or. An advocate of High Court or 2 or more such courts for at least 10 years. That is, practicing lawyer in the High Court or High Courts in succession for 10 years. So, 5 years High Court judge, 10 years practicing lawyer. Then, or alternative. In the opinion of the president, he is a distinguished jurist. He is a distinguished jurist. Now, of these three categories, 90% of the judges of the Supreme Court have so far been chosen from category 1. That is, from among the judges of High Court. At least 90%. Second point you should remember, no dignitary from the distinguished jurist category has been taken so far as judge of Supreme Court. Third point you should remember, however, 8 judges have so far been taken from the bar, that is, from among the practicing advocates. Who are they? Number 1, Justice S.M. Sikri, who retired as the Chief Justice of India, Justice S.C. Roy, Justice Kuldeep Singh, Justice Santosh Hegde, Justice U.U. Lalit, Justice Rohinton Nariman, son of Feli Nariman, Justice L. Nageshwar Rao, and Justice Miss Indu Malhotra. She is the first lady practicing lawyer who has been chosen. First lady from practicing lawyer. I think she is the 7th woman judge so far. Now, this is the introductory part of Union Judiciary. We will continue in the next class. Thank you. Thank you.